Chapter 12. June 14th, 2033. Seattle, Washington, USA. 4th floor, Illini Building. Negative 41 degrees Fahrenheit. 1145 hours.
"Wow, how is it even colder down here?"
asked Hillary. I turned to look at her. "Hills, the sun is missing, or blocked, or something. The temperature is constantly falling outside."
"Oh, right. Well, where is everybody?"
I shook my head. "That's what I was just trying to figure out. We should have seen at least a few bodies. People stuck in stairwells or frozen in their offices. We haven't seen any sign of a survivor or even a dead person, save for that dog." My head lit up with yet another migraine. "And this air is fucking awful. It keeps making my head hurt. It's too cold." The others nodded, rubbing their temples as well. I continued. "Let's get through the security cordon and down into the store. They have the first 3 floors, so we should be able to find plenty of stuff." We started out of the elevator area, our shoes clicking on the marble floors. The eerie silence dug into my brain, punctuated only by our footsteps and the howling wind outside. It battered the admittedly impressive windows. They stood 20 feet tall, all crazed with impact marks and spiderweb with cracks. The windows hadn't given in, though, despite what sounded like a constant barrage of debris. My flashlight swept over everything I could see. Light reflected crazily off the windows, floor, and even the ceiling. There was a thin film of ice on the windows, multicolored couches, tables, anything but the floor, it seemed. I tread with care, trying to ensure I wouldn't slip and fall. In each of the 4 corners of the building stood the elevators and fire stairs. The elevators to the east were much larger and had openings to the garage below for freight. I chose the northwest corner since it was the closest to the front of the store and headed for it. The others followed closely behind, nearly in a single line. I got to the elevator bank here and immediately tried for the crash bar on the fire door. The door budged, but only barely. I put my shoulder into it and felt something beyond the door start to move. Larry saw me struggling and stepped up. He put his hands on the door with me and we shoved. The object blocking the door slid a few inches, so we tried again. The door moved another half a foot and I could make out something in the darkness. I stood up and shined the light into the crack. Faces stared back up at me, blue in the light. Their skin glittered with frost, leaving them paper white. Shrunken, cloudy eyes frozen open like marbles of ice sitting in their skulls. The stairwell was packed solid, dozens of people all lined up and frozen to death. It was truly bizarre. They all seemed to be moving upward, then sat as a group and perished as the temperature fell. I quietly closed the door and turned to Larry. "We need to take a different staircase. This one is blocked off." He leaned close and asked, "How bad?" "Bad. Dozens at least, maybe fleeing from something. None of them had been dressed for any kind of cold." He nodded and we set out for the southwest corner. I opened the fire door to the sound of the screaming wind. Muffled thumping could be heard from below. It wasn't rhythmic, but it was pretty regular. I stepped into the stairwell and it was absolutely frigid. I thought I had been cold before. Everything exposed immediately went numb. I hustled down the stairs to the first floor. There I found a body curled up at the door to the street, one outstretched arm keeping the door open. The door would occasionally open an inch or two as the wind let up, only to slam back into the arm as the wind gusted again. It sounded like a hammer falling on the tail of a lobster over and over again. I grabbed the door and yanked hard. The arm shuddered, splintered bone piercing the frozen flesh. I slammed the door again and the body rocked backward, arm severed. The door clanged shut. Larry helped me drag the body into the store and away from the door. The air was no longer blasting into the staircase, but there was no chance that staircase would ever heat up again. My body was racked with shivers, and I figured it was colder outside than Seattle had ever experienced before. I stood in the relative warmth of the store. It had to be around 0 degrees. I thought it had to be more than 40 below outside. I went back to the stairwell and wedged the doors open on all 3 floors of the store for easy access. Then I walked out to the center of the first floor with our group. We could see an open lofted area in the west side of the store, which had windows facing the street. The north side was partially below ground, leading up on both sides to the east. The store had multiple entrance points, but all of them were closed. It seemed that when the power went out, all of the doors closed. The glass was completely covered in frost and scratches, obscuring the outside view. Still, the windows had not broken. It really was impressive. Right, so we've got sports and camping down here on the first floor. We're going to be hauling stuff back up 70 flights, so our first priority is sturdy hiking backpacks. I indicated the backpacks as the others followed along. They help distribute the weight evenly so we can carry more without getting tired. We're going to want tents, bedrolls, cookware like pots and pans, flashlights, lanterns, and frozen food. We also need to find winter clothing. I especially want a ski mask or balaclava. My face fucking hurts. I wish the cold gear up there had included one. The others were nodding along, taking mental notes of what I mentioned. Gino spoke up. My fucking face hurts too. I second that. And water. It's like a fucking desert down here. Then Larry saying, toys, in his usual terse fashion.
Yeah, the kids are starting to go stir crazy. Art supplies would be good too, since we have all the paper we could ever want now. Maybe we should grab some books too,
Hillary added. She mentioned a few more quality of life items.
Toothpaste and toothbrushes, deodorant, as much toilet paper as we can bear to strap on the bags. Oh, and, women's products.
I nodded. Doesn't that just scream military? They include cold gear, hot weather gear, even MREs, but they forget that women still need sanitary stuff. Larry nodded along, though it seemed that the sentiment was lost on Hillary and Gino. Then I remembered they hadn't ever served. Gino perked up.
Man, I would kill for a shower.
Maybe we should figure something out for that. Yeah, I'll think on that. Is there anything else we should grab on this first trip? Oh, the pharmacy on the second floor. We should definitely break in and grab everything we can. I doubt anybody will be coming by to fill their prescriptions now. I began ruminating out loud. Okay, I think clothes and toys are on the third floor. Probably books too. Second floor is hygiene, medicine, and a few other things we could probably do with. Then we have all the camping stuff on this side, plus some household stuff on the far end. I'll look around. I paused for a moment. Shoot, we're going to need to figure out what to do with all of our trash. I started to get lost in thoughts, then snapped out of it when I saw the other three staring at me. Right, sorry. Head's been a little fuzzy the last day or so. Must be the cold. They all nodded in sympathy. So, Hillary, grab what you can for hygiene. I'll clear an area here for us to organize. Then, I'm going to grab camping stuff. Larry, you were a corpsman, right? So you know medicines. He nodded tentatively. I can figure a few things out. There might be a paper list in there. Great. That leaves you, Gino. Can you go up to the third floor and start figuring out clothes and toys? Definitely some playing cards and maybe a board game or two? He nodded. Oh wait, Hillary, when you're done, go and help Gino. I'll help Larry if he needs it. You guys can probably just pitch the non-fragile stuff over the railings up there and I'll gather it up down here. Let's get this done.
Fucking hell, I thought it would never end, said Gino.
Whiny, muttered Larry with a smirk. Gino shot a look, but the words were so quiet that even in the silence I wasn't sure he'd said it. Larry broke off and headed toward the hardware section of the store. Hillary and Gino walked toward the nearest set of stairs upward, talking about things to prioritize. I began to clear an area, setting up tables in a circle to hold the supplies and stage a packing area. After about 10 minutes, I had an area I was satisfied with for the time being. I did my best to not look out the front doors. Not only did they show the devastation that the storms had caused in the city, but there were 2 bodies slumped against the doors. I figured they were frozen to the doors because they didn't budge even when cars rocked in the wind. I was just thankful they were facing away from the doors. Rhythmic metallic thumping started from near the back of the second floor. I guessed Larry had found something to smash the pharmacy door open. Clothes began falling to the floor. Bags of underwear and socks rained from above. I stepped back to leave a clear landing zone and looked up. "Incoming!" yelled Gino. "You're supposed to say that before you throw shit!" He stood at the railing on the 3rd floor, grinning maniacally. He took aim and let a pack of socks fly. I swatted it out of the air before it hit me. He continued grinning, then dumped the rest of the undergarments over. I shook my head and walked deeper into the camping supplies.